Hello everyone, it is Tuesday, May 4th. The time right now is 3:52 p.m. and the temperature outside is 9 degrees Celsius. I'm here at Sherbourne Station and this would be the Glen Road exit I'm about to head on out of. And the plan for this one is to take a walk around the St. Jamestown neighborhood. And this is a neighborhood located near the northeast corner of the city. This here would be Glen Road. And there's the look up at Bloor Street East. And this would be the Glen Road Community Wildflower Garden. I was not aware that was even there. So St. Jamestown is bordered by Bloor Street East to the north there, and to the east, Parliament Street, Wellesley Street East to the south, and to the west, Sherbourne Street. And I'll head over to Sherbourne Street right now, then we'll head south for a few blocks. There's a look north. And St. Jamestown is a planned high-rise community. It's actually the densest neighborhood in the entire country, not just the city of Toronto. There's a total of 19 high-rise buildings. And they range from 14 to 32 stories. This is Redrocket Lane. So I'm currently walking west along the north side of Howard Street. And there's St. Jamestown West Park. I'll be cutting through there in a couple of minutes, I think. So here is Sherbourne. Just to the north of here is the Sherbourne Street entrance to the subway station. And I was just here not too long ago, doing a walk down Sherbourne in the rain. And just to the south of here is a Freshco, which I think makes it one of two major supermarkets in the St. Jamestown neighborhood. Although since I just covered this part of Sherbourne Street, I think I'll head in through the park here. That's unfortunate, but not unexpected in the city of Toronto.
yeah. First you gotta run. That's extra, right?
So this is St. Jamestown Park West. So before the 1960s, this was mostly a suburban area, featuring a lot of 19th century Victorian style housing. Very much like what you'll find in the neighboring Cabbagetown area. In fact, this used to be Cabbagetown once upon a time, along with Regent Park, which is just to the south of here. And I think this is Bleeker Street. And I'm currently walking south now. Looks like they have a COVID test center. And then what had happened was, with the advent of the automobile, a lot of the more middle class and wealthier families started moving out of those Victorian homes and into the suburbs where they could get more land. So this area started to shift in demographic and class. And it got to the point where in the 1950s, a lot of that housing was divided up into boarding houses and rental units. So the city struck up a plan to zone this for high-rise buildings. And upon that news, the landlords of those Victorian homes almost stopped renovating them and maintaining them, so they fell into a further state of disrepair. And this area was widely regarded as a slum back then. So those houses were raised in two phases. The first phase of St. Jamestown, constructed in the early 60s, I think was between Ontario Street and Parliament Street, so this would be the second phase I'm walking around right now. And I think this here is St. James Avenue. There's a look to the west towards Sherbourne. And the initial aim was to have these apartments occupied by what they called back then swinging singles. Those were younger people in their 20s and 30s, starting to break into the middle class. But it turns out they didn't have much of an appetite for high-rise living back then. And soon after it was built, the neighborhood started to fall into a decline. The second phase of these towers went up in the early 70s. And by that time, the neighborhood was mostly working class and newer immigrants to the city. And this here is Ontario Street coming up. And this park here is known for its local markets, which spring up from time to time. I don't really know the schedule. There's someone selling some fruit in there. And there is Rose Avenue Public School. So this is Ontario Street, so I think Rose Avenue is just on the east of the school here. I'll walk up Rose. Ontario Street gets interrupted here. And it briefly turns into a park. And I think it was this building here in 2019 that suffered some flooding, and the power and water was shut off for several days. I remember reading about that in the news. And I think this one right next to it is run by Toronto Community Housing. So I think that's a public housing apartment building. And these towers follow the towers in the park design philosophy, which is when you build a high-rise tower and surround it by green space with a few amenities. It's really more of a suburban design characteristic. There's some retail in the base of this apartment building. I wonder what's being sold right here. Cell phone sales and repairs. I didn't exactly want to stand right next to those guys and record their wares for sale, but it looked like it was mostly clothing items, shoes and bags and that sort of thing. And this here is Wellesley Street East. So just to the south of here, that would be considered Cabbagetown. So these would be the style of homes that used to be in St. Jamestown. And there is a discount grocery store, Food Basics. So this is the southern boundary of St. Jamestown. And coming up ahead would be Parliament Street off in the distance. But instead, I'm going to turn and walk north here up Rose Avenue. Wellesley, Parliament Square. So there's around 25,000 residents in St. Jamestown. 64% of whom are immigrants to the country. I tried to look up rents, and it seemed as if a one-bedroom apartment in most of these buildings would go for around $1,500, plus some utilities. Although these apartments do not exactly have glowing reviews. And most of them are owned by just one family. So while this was going up as a planned high-rise community, on the south end of Cabbagetown, a similar story was unfolding at Regent Park, as the housing in that area was largely regarded as turning into a slum. So that was developed into a community housing project. And the city has recently just extensively redeveloped that area, and that is still ongoing. I've done a video through Regent Park, I think about 4 months ago or so. This is my first time doing a dedicated video through St. Jamestown though, although I have passed through here before. There's the public school I walked by earlier. And there's been some calls recently to redevelop this area, much like Regent Park. There's a look into the school. So this will take me up to Howard Street, where I started. I'll head over to Parliament Street here. And from there I'll head north up to Howard Street. Crescent Town is another high-rise development that kind of comes to mind when I think of this place. I did a video through there last year. is 650 Parliament Street. And just across the street is the St. James Cemetery. And that is connected to the necropolis, which is another large cemetery in Cabbagetown. And this would be Parliament Street, and just to the south there is the main retail area that heads through Cabbagetown. Here's a look over at the cemetery. And this would be Howard Street coming up. And just to the north of that is Bloor Street East. And you could turn right and head over the Bloor Street Viaduct, and that'll take you into Riverdale and then through Greektown. I think most of these buildings were developed by Medallion, including some of the newer ones going in. Although these two here are being built by Tridel. So they'd be the newest additions to the neighborhood. And on the west end of Sherbourne Street, Howard Street near Sherbourne, where I started, I think there's a couple more towers going up, as I struggle to get basic words out. So now I'm walking west along Howard. So this will take me right back to where I started. And all the houses on that street were also originally up for being demolished and turned into part of St. Jamestown. There was also a plan to expand St. Jamestown south of Wellesley Street. Apartments available. And this building is called the Toronto. I think initially the buildings were all named after different cities in the country. St. Simon the Apostle. There's Glen Road, where this rather short walk began. And there is a look south down Bleeker. Let's head up this alleyway or laneway, whatever you want to call it, up to Bloor Street. So I think this is where 2 new condos will be going in. I don't know if they'll be forced to preserve an old house or not. And here we go, it's Bloor Street East. That's a look to the east. And just to the west here is Sherbourne Station. Well, the Sherbourne Street entrance. And on that note, I hope you enjoyed this rather short walk through St. Jamestown. Let me know your thoughts and comments down below. If you'd like to support the channel, there are links to my Patreon in the description. Or alternatively, you can check out channel memberships on the main page. All right, thanks for watching, guys, and I will catch you on the next one.